Hey there, folks. All right, thought for the day is there's a way to store time. So I've been thinking about margin for a few years now, and with a friend of mine working on a management system that's different than what I'm working on now, but that one's for construction management. And we've talked a tremendous amount about margin and what it means and what it looks like and what are the variables and how do you identify it, how do you use it. But one of the things we talked about is how do you store it. And one of the easiest things to think about in terms of margin is storage is money you can save. You can save money. And so if you get some surplus cash, you can convert it into either keep it as cash or convert it into some method of storing that money in terms of, it could be investment in order to create more margin, or it could be just a savings account, it could be in a pillowcase underneath your bed, but it's storing it for future use because it's excess resources that is not being tapped by a current need. Time's a little trickier though, because you can't store it like money. And for a while we didn't think you could store it until we realized there is a way to store it. So I create flywheels, and I've got some other videos on what I mean by that, so I won't really talk too much about exactly what they mean, but it's essentially a modifiable checklist that drives a workflow. I'll use as an example my financial flywheel, how I update my accounting for my company in QuickBooks. I've got a lot of different accounts, a lot of different bank accounts and credit card accounts and vendor accounts that I have to track. I have to update QuickBooks. I've got to make sure I process all of my invoices the right way and put them towards the right job. So it's pretty tricky, but I've done it for years, probably since 2002 or so. But for years, I would just sit down to update my bookkeeping, and it'd take me 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, depending on how much, the volume of things I needed to process. But every time pretty much I would just sit down, I would open up QuickBooks and just start doing something, and then realize, I've got to go back and check on this, and then I've got to redo what I just did. I would be balancing my bank statement and realize, I never entered all those checks. So I go back and enter in the checks. There's some invoices I need to track, etc., etc. So it's complicated. There's a lot of details, but I would basically just sit down and start doing it, and whatever came to mind, whatever problems came up, I would solve them on the spot. And then I started building flywheels, and I realized, this is an opportunity. This is a repeating workflow. And so it can be managed by a flywheel. So I sat down one time, and at the time I would think I did it in Trello initially. Now it's in Workflowy, but I sat down, and every single thing I did, I added it to the list. And then I looked at the list, and once I was done, and my finances were updated, and all of my reporting spreadsheets that I managed to kind of do predictive cash flow and everything were updated, and I was satisfied with the final product. But now I had a complete list of everything I'd done, and it probably had taken me 6 or 7 hours to do my financial update for the month. But a good part of that was doing things out of efficient order, where I'd have to go back and do something that I hadn't done before, and then I have to redo what I'd done to make sure it was, it incorporated the new information. So what I did is I took that flywheel, and I just, looked at each item and thought, should I do this before or after, the item above it? And I went through and ordered it in a way that made sense to me. The next time I did the same thing, it took about half the time. But as I did it, I realized, oh, there's still better ways to organize the checklist. Now, that was a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I created the flywheel. So something that would take me on average for, to update my finances once a month, it'd take me almost a full day. Now it takes me a couple of hours. Not only that, so I've saved 6 hours a month. So I've stored, in a sense, a flywheel stores time margin, because without the flywheel, I would have to do it as best I could and continue to, do things out of order and make it up as I go along each time. And now, not only do I do it very efficiently, but it's almost completely mindless, to the point that usually when I'm doing my accounting, I watch a movie, because it doesn't take any mental energy. I just look at the next thing, sort invoices. I highlight the dates on the invoices, and then I put them in order. Not that I need that for my accounting. It makes it a little more efficient, though, when everything's in order, because I actually take pictures of all my receipts and store them in my QuickBooks app for future reference, and also in case I ever get audited. It'll make it a lot simpler, because there will be images attached to the invoices and receipts and stuff. And then I actually store my invoices and envelopes in date order, so it's easier to find in the future. So that's one little way. And then not only does it save time when I'm actually doing my accounting, but because everything is in date order, it makes it very quick if I need to go and find a receipt because I'm going to return some materials or something. It's very easy to find. So I've, in a sense, relative to the time it would take me to do my accounting each month, I've stored 6 hours that can be used. So that extra 6 hours that I no longer need to do my accounting every month is margin available, or a resource available for other tasks and other needs. So now, whenever I'm doing something repetitively, I realize I can store margin. If it's something I do enough, then it's worth taking an hour or two to create the flywheel and sort it, and then actually it's almost saving more than an hour. So to whatever extent I would want to watch a movie to relax, I'm actually doubling up, except for about 20 minutes of that 2-hour time frame where I actually have to, really engage my mind and sort through upcoming transactions. And that's even been reduced since I've changed my company from project management, because my finances are a lot simpler now. Because I'm not tracking a bunch of other people's expenses. So I'm almost doubling up. So to the extent that I'm watching the movie while I'm just kind of mindlessly sorting things into date order, and then taking pictures of them, so it really almost reduces it from 8 hours to 20 minutes, because at the same time I'm watching a movie that I want to watch. So that's a way to store time margin, is carefully crafted flywheel checklists for repetitive tasks. So there you go. That's another component of my systems that's going to be incorporated into currently I'm using them all the time, but that'll also be something I plug into the fractal productivity methodology.